Hi everyone, it's Nina, and I'm here today for Create a Smile Stamps, showing you how to make this shaker tag card. I've got this extraordinary stamp set. This is by Create a Smile. I'm going to be using the 4 little critters that are included in this set. I'm going to stamp them in Memento Tuxedo Black ink onto this traditional tag stack, which is from the My Favorite Things die set. Stamping all of my little critters, playing around with the placement. My original intent was to cover the entire background, but then I decided I wanted to put the sentiment towards the bottom and only cover the top portion of the panel here with critters. So I'm taking my Copic markers here and I'm adding in some shading to all of my little critters. I'm using some yellows here for the little chicken, shading out the darker colors into the lighter areas. Use some browns for his feet, shade that out with a darker color. And then I added in a bit more of the darker yellows to the little chicken here. Moving on to the sheep, I'm using some light, cool, warm grays here. Going to be adding in some shading just to give it a bit of dimension. I don't want to get too dark because then it'll start to make the sheep look dingy. So I'm just adding in some light shading and darkening up his edges a little bit. Using some cool grays for the tuft of his hair, just adds in a bit of darker color, and I like how the cool grays have a semblance of black to them. Just blending those colors out. Adding in some pink to his ears and his cheeks. For all the critters, I have used a light source that's on the right hand side is the darkest shading, and all of the light is coming from the left hand side. It's not coming in from one direction on the tag. Each critter is the same light source. So it was just the way I ended up focusing on coloring these little critters. For the bunny, I wanted to do something different because, of course, most bunnies you think of as white. And because I already had the sheep that was going to be a whitish color, I decided I'd go something different for the little bunny and use purples. So I'm starting off with some lighter purples, and as I was coloring I decided I didn't like the contrast I was getting because there wasn't enough. So I'm taking slightly darker purple and adding in some more shading, darkening up that bunny, and I like how this ended up working out much better. It had enough contrast to give it some nice dimension, but yet still blend nicely. Moving on to the little piggy, and I'm taking some pinks and coloring in the different portions of his body. Again, I'm focusing all the darker coloring on the right hand side of each animal and leaving the left hand side more lighted. So now I'm working on a background for this tag. I've masked off all my little critters using some sticky notes, and I'm taking this floating chevron stamp, also from Create a Smile. I'm going to stamp this onto my little tag here using Versamark ink. Then I'll go ahead and white heat emboss this tag. So now that I have my white heat embossing all done, I'm taking some squeezed lemonade distress ink and also some dried marigold, and I'm creating a background using my little mini ink blending tool. Got a Ranger craft sheet underneath my work surface here. Just helps for doing some ink blending. It's a nice slick surface. So I'm just working around with the 2 colors, blending them together and leaving a white highlight in the center. Taken some pretty pink posh sequins and I've attached them onto my panel here. This will help keep the shaker looking more full and not have all the sequins all the way down at the bottom. Taken the rest of the sequins that I've pulled together and put them in the shaker. And I'm taking the tag frame that I've made and which is covered with acetate and has foam to pop off the tag. Because I wanted this to look like a tag, I have the ribbon threaded through, and I've got this backer piece which is going to hide that ribbon because we're also going to be able to make this into a card. Sorry about my head, had to make sure I had the right placement here. Just lining that up and attaching that, and then we'll go ahead and tie some twine around this. Adds a nice bit of finishing off to this little ribbon here. I like how this ends up working out, and adds a nice bright pop of color and matches these hello dies that we're going to be using for the sentiment. These are from Winnie and Walter, and I've die cut them from some doll pink cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and take some multi-matte medium, and I'm going to cover the back side of each of these little die cuts and stack them all together to create a thicker embellishment. I'll just layer these all up, and then once I do that, we'll go on to the next portion of the card. So now I'm taking my Wink of Stella glitter and I've covered the entire surface of this Hello die, and that adds a nice bit of shimmer and shine, matches this iridescent sequence. I'm now taking my Martha Stewart cutting board and I'm going to go ahead and score a line about half an inch down from the top of my tag, and this is going to be the back side of our little tag to create the card. So I'll just go ahead and fold that and then apply adhesive to that portion of the tag, and then go ahead and attach it to my tag. And as you can see, it creates this adorable little card, which is also serves as a shaker. Nice little area for someone to write their sentiment. Speaking of sentiments, we're going to go ahead and finish the one that's on the front of the card. Taking some black cardstock and a sentiment that's included in the Extraordinary stamp set. This is "You Are Awesome," and it was one whole sentiment that was stacked on top of each other. But I wanted it to be one line, so I'm going to cut those stamps apart and I'm going to line them up on my little clear block here. If you ever wanted to use the sentiment as it was originally intended, you would simply have to line it back up again. It's very easy to do. So I'm taking my Versamark ink and I'm going to white heat emboss this sentiment onto my black cardstock. I'll end up cutting it into a little fishtail banner and attach it onto the front of my little shaker card here. And finally, I'm going to take some glossy accents and apply it over top of this Hello die. It captures all of those little glitter pieces from the Wink of Stella glitter pen and makes them shine even more. I love the effect. So that completes my shaker card tag. Be sure to stop over at the Create a Smile blog, where I'll have a complete list of supplies used, as well as more pictures and inspiration. Thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again soon.